his hockey. It was their thing.
He was so present in his son's life. They did everything together.
He was meant to take care of kids and give them a second chance.
Ricardo Hebe is doing everything he can to be a positive influence in these kids' life. He's stabbed 3 times in the chest and he's left for dead. Is there an old score to settle? Is this something from Ricardo's past?
We have this murderer out on the streets. Everybody was scared.
A lot of the details were just so gruesome.
The final moments of Ricardo Hebe's life must have been horrifically terrifying.
December 2018, Winnipeg, Canada. Ricardo Hebe has a lot to be grateful for this holiday season. He and his fiancée Candace are planning a big wedding in the new year. And he's found success in the real estate business. But growing up in Winnipeg's North End, this happy picture was far from guaranteed.
North End, Winnipeg is a place that has substance abuse issues related to crime. It's a city that has some real struggles.
Ricardo's early years, he had a lot of tumultuous relationships in his life with family or guardians. He kind of had to navigate on his own. We went to the same high school. His energy was so enigmatic, like everybody wanted to be around him. We just met one night and the rest was history.
His parents separated when he was young. They both left Winnipeg. He stayed because he didn't want to leave. So he ended up staying with one of his friends. We talked about his childhood. It was very broken.
On Ricardo's 16th birthday, an act of kindness changes his life.
One of his friends, his mom took him in. She was a single mom raising her own kids, and she was a foster mom as well. She just took him in, supporting him. As long as he went to school, that was the deal. And he kept that deal with her and got good grades. He was actually an honor roll student. He calls her super mom.
After Ricardo graduates from high school in 2002, he is touched by another act of kindness that changes his life.
We met through a mutual friend of ours, Sean. I've been doing home renovations and construction for 15 years now. He's like, oh, would you mind if I worked with you? I'm not going to get paid. I just wouldn't mind, somebody teaching me how to do these things. And I said, yeah, absolutely.
Over the next several years, Ricardo learns Richard's business and eventually becomes his partner.
He was successful in real estate. Like, he could have retired probably by the time he was 45 if he would have kept at it.
Then, in December 2010, when he's 26 years old, a mutual friend introduces him to Candace Walasha.
He was this mean-looking guy, but so friendly and nice. So his laugh and his smile right away. And then we just hit it off there. He said, you're mine. And I said, okay. He ended up signing his name on me that night. And I came home, my mom was like, what the hell is on you? And I was like, oh God. I was like, I found my love. I'm like, he signed me. So we're stuck together now. I was like, I found my forever. And I did. I really did.
A year and a half later, Candace gives birth to a baby boy.
I can't even explain it. Just seeing his eyes, holding Junior, that was his world. Everything was about him. He had to be with him 24/7.
On December 14th, 2014, 2 years after Junior is born, Ricardo asks Candace to marry him.
He was really excited to get married. That was kind of the last little bit to solidify their family as a unit.
But a chance encounter puts those plans on hold.
A couple of friends were doing group homework, and I think when he went there, he looked at these youth and he saw part of himself in these kids.
A group home is an environment where multiple people who are vulnerable live together. And it really hits home that these teenagers are just like him, who need stability, who need guidance.
Ricardo decides that the best way to repay the acts of kindness that turned his life around is to create his own group home for at-risk teens.
He just kind of followed his calling. He was meant to take care of kids and give them a second chance.
Transforming a property he owns into a group home takes several months and becomes Ricardo's sole focus. He even decides to postpone his wedding so he can fully concentrate on his newfound mission.
He signed up with an agency, which then certified him. He was approved, and 3 teenagers were placed in his care.
He gets to do what he loves, and he gets to keep kids off the street. And the kids loved him. He would take them to the gym. He was adamant on them going to school. He did everything with them. He wanted them to do better. They would laugh, they would even call him the dad. They looked up to him. It was like home. We'd have supper there with the kids. Our kid was there all the time.
By the winter of 2018, 4 years after he proposed to Candace, Ricardo is ready to plan their long overdue wedding.
We planned his wedding party. I was supposed to be the best man in his wedding. He wanted to proceed with it and to get married.
As Christmas approaches, Ricardo takes his family out for one of the favorite activities he enjoys sharing with his son. Cheering on the Winnipeg Jets.
He loved his hockey. It was their thing. Every Jets game they'd be watching, screaming. He just wanted him to be... His main thing was hockey. That's what he wanted him to do.
It was him and his son at the Jets game. He had season tickets, so he would always go to all the games and bring his son. He was so present in his son's life. They did everything together. You could just see he's just so happy and laughing.
They don't know that this happy night will be their final moments together as a family. On December 17th, Ricardo agrees to give his former business partner a hand with one of his construction jobs. At lunchtime, he tells Richard he's got to go run an errand.
I remember it vividly. Every time we leave for the night, we're not going to see each other till the next day. He would always do this side fist bump to me. And so the day of, he was saying he has to go home and he's going to get something to eat and he'll meet me back at the house. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then he did one of those fist bumps. And I remember it was like my brain took a picture of it because I looked over and I seen his hand and I remember almost taking a picture of my hand touching his hand. I looked at his hand and I pulled my hand back and I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm going to see you in 20 minutes. I just had this intuition that that was the last time I was going to speak to him.
At 2:30 p.m., a call comes into the Winnipeg police reporting a disturbance at Ricardo Hebe's group home.
Ricardo Hebe was on the phone with a lawyer at the time. So the lawyer hears a commotion, knows that there's something wrong.
The lawyer calls 911, and patrol units are immediately dispatched to Ricardo's group home.
They find Ricardo Hebe on the ground, covered in blood.
Detectives try to decipher a clue that could crack the case.
Somebody is lying. Somebody knows something about that blood stain on the door.
While they grapple with the question of who would want Ricardo Hebe dead.
We have the citizens coming together in uproar, thinking, what is going on in our city?
What did he do wrong? Nothing. He opened the door. He's trying to defend his home and defend the children in his care.
I didn't see real. I lost it because it was like a nightmare.
Winnipeg police responding to the group home run by Ricardo Hebe find him critically injured after being attacked and clinging to life.
You're looking at a chaotic scene. He's stabbed 3 times in the chest. He's left for dead. He's bleeding out. They're going to do whatever they can to save his life. The paramedics take him to the hospital as quickly as possible.
As Ricardo fights for his life, the search for clues about what happened to him immediately gets underway.
The forensic unit attend the crime scene and collect all the blood samples. They're going to collect DNA samples from different surfaces. Maybe the offender got cut in a struggle and has blood on the floor.
Detectives also launch an urgent search for witnesses. They discover that 2 of the 3 teenage residents of the group home were in the house when Ricardo was attacked.
These kids, he said, they were in their rooms at the time when this happened. The investigators have to consider everything and everyone. This attack could have been connected to any one of the 3 boys that live there.
As the investigators interview the teens at the crime scene, they have their colleagues back at the police station check into the residents' backgrounds.
Investigators ask the gang unit and in the drug unit if there's any open investigations involving the group home or the people who live in the group home. But they find the opposite, that Ricardo Hebe is running a really clean ship and he's doing everything he can to be a positive influence in these kids' life. They actually have a lot of respect for him and they speak very highly of him.
The teens also tell the police there's one more resident of the group home who's known to everyone as CH, but they haven't seen him all day.
CH was not there at the time. It's imperative that the investigators find CH and interview him as well.
Detectives get the addresses of CH's school and work and begin trying to track him down. As they do, word comes that this has just become a homicide case.
Ricardo Hebe was pronounced dead at the hospital.
Ricardo's fiancée Candace is home when she gets the call that turns her world upside down.
Hearing the words that he's dead. I didn't see real. I lost it because it was like a nightmare. I couldn't speak. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe half the time. I would lay there like begging him to come back. He was my everything. Losing him literally destroyed my life.
I'll never forget that phone call because all I could hear was Ricardo's dead. And instantly I dropped the phone. I couldn't breathe. I fell down. I was crying. Thank God my husband was carrying our child because I was completely distraught. It was just heart-wrenching.
As Ricardo's stunned loved ones try to cope with the terrible news, Winnipeg detectives continue looking for reasons and potential suspects.
Why did the suspect do this? Is there an old score to settle? Is this maybe something from Ricardo's way past and somebody has asked this guy to go there and kill him? Who knows? But you can't rule out any of these options.
He didn't have any enemies. He didn't have anybody that had a personal vendetta against him. He never screwed somebody over.
Investigators examining the crime scene make a major discovery that they hope will shed light on what happened.
There's a camera showing the exterior of the residence, so it would show anyone coming up to the door.
Police are able to quickly review the surveillance video, and when they do, they learn the camera was an eyewitness to the murder. They are able to play back Ricardo Hebe's final moments.
The surveillance footage shows a man in a black coat walking up to the group home. There is a brief interaction. You can't hear what's said, but the man in the black coat pulls out a knife, stabs Ricardo 3 times.
The crime was shocking. Here's a guy who is running a group home for vulnerable children. What did he do wrong? Nothing. He opened the door. He's trying to defend his home and defend the children in his care. And then he gets stabbed. The final moments of Ricardo Hebe's life must have been horrifically terrifying.
Despite showing the murder, the footage yields no clues to the identity of Ricardo's killer.
Unfortunately, the images are grainy, they're fuzzy, and they're just not good.
The exterior camera showed the suspect wearing a black jacket with a fur-trimmed hood. The hood was up.
The footage shows that Ricardo's attacker approached from the street and never entered the house.
The 2 kids who were in the house, they're ruled out at this point.
For detectives, it's now more urgent to find the one resident who was not home at the time of the murder, CH.
It's imperative that the investigators find CH and interview him. Maybe he knows something that the other kids didn't know. And also to be able to account for his location at the time the offense happened.
It's not clear where CH was at the time of Ricardo Hebe's death. Police are just trying to piece together if he's connected to all of this.
The day after Ricardo Hebe is stabbed to death, detectives are urgently searching for the one resident of Ricardo's group home who cannot be accounted for, a teen known to his friends as CH.
At this point, the investigators still haven't tracked down CH. The first obvious place to check would be the school and his place of work. It turns out that he didn't attend either of them on that day, which is a little weird because he was expected to be in school and he was scheduled to be at work, but he didn't show up for either. And there's no account of where he is or where he could be. So they cannot rule him out or rule him in any way at this point.
News of Ricardo's murder spreads through Winnipeg, stirring both grief and anger.
This was quite a high-profile murder in Winnipeg. It affected a lot of people. And the question I kept coming back to was, for what? Why did this happen? There's really no clear answer. I thought it was just so brutal because of the fact that Ricardo was quite a pillar in the North End of Winnipeg. It was just such a sad story. I mean, this man dedicated his life to trying to help young men who were in a similar position to him, so it seemed just so tragic that he would die while doing something good for the community. It just felt very cold and brutal.
We have the citizens coming together in uproar, thinking, what is going on in our city? We have this murderer out on the streets. We're all going out in support because we don't want this to die in the media. We want it to be up close and personal with every resident of this city because this is all of our issue. You know, it was my best friend who lost his life, but it could be my neighbors tomorrow. Everybody was scared. And so I think pushing it in the media was the only way that we were going to get any traction with finding this guy.
Two days after Ricardo Hebe's murder, as detectives continue to search for CH, police get an unexpected visitor.
On December 19, CH arrived at police headquarters and tells the officer at the desk that he understands that homicide investigators want to speak to him. He tells police that he doesn't know who would have had reason to attack Ricardo. He doesn't believe it had anything to do with him. He certainly denies being part of the attack or having any knowledge whatsoever of it. The investigators want to know, where was he at the time of the attack? CH tells the investigators that he was at his girlfriend's house. His alibi is that he spent the whole afternoon with her, and that's why he didn't go to school, and that's why he didn't go to work. He said that he was dealing with some relationship issues, and that's why he hadn't come forward. And he claims that he didn't know anything about the homicide until he had recently heard about it, that police wanted to speak with him. CH says that he was with his girlfriend, Trinity Moore. Police now have to confirm that alibi.
CH gives detectives Trinity's address. They head straight to her house to check his story.
When police arrive at Trinity's address, they see that there's a blood stain on her front door. Trinity denies any knowledge of it, and she says that's the first time that she's seen that blood.
Trinity consents to police taking samples from the blood that's found on her front door.
The blood samples are sent to the police lab for testing as detectives continue their interview with Trinity. They ask if she can confirm CH's alibi, that he was with her on December 17th, the day of the murder.
Trinity told the investigators that CH does come over a lot, and he stays over there, and he spends lots of time with her at her home. However, she says that on the day of the homicide, he was not there.
In fact, Trinity tells the detectives she hasn't seen CH in days.
He's saying that he was there all day. She said, no, he wasn't. So someone's lying. Somebody knows something about that blood stain on the door.
Detectives investigating the stabbing death of Ricardo Hebe believe a teenage resident of Ricardo's group home has lied to them about where he was at the time of the murder.
CH says that he was with his girlfriend, Trinity Moore, but she said that she didn't see CH that day.
With his alibi in doubt, investigators now wait to see if DNA tests on the blood found on Trinity's door can connect CH to the murder. But they also have some follow-up questions for him. This time, CH is easier to locate. They find him standing outside the group home where he lives.
CH tells them that Trinity is mistaken, and he said that sometimes she takes medication and she forgets things, but he's actually angry that she says that he wasn't there because he is adamant that he was there. His alibi is very shaky, but there is no physical evidence to tie him to the scene. At this point, there is certainly not enough evidence to charge CH with anything.
4 days after Ricardo's murder, just 4 days before Christmas, the DNA test results from the blood stains on Trinity's door come in.
Those bloodstains came back as a match to Ricardo Hebe's DNA.
It is not contaminated with anybody else's DNA. It is Ricardo Hebe's DNA, and it is definitely something that happened after his attack. This is a huge break in the case because now there is a direct link from the crime scene to Trinity's front door. So somebody who killed Ricardo went through that front door and deposited Ricardo's blood on the door.
The test results convince detectives that Trinity knows more than she's told them about how Ricardo's blood got on her door. They rush back to her home to confront her. And that's when her story about the day of the murder changes.
She says that CH was there, that he was actually hiding in the back room. Trinity told the investigators that they have a rocky relationship at this time and they had a fight. She says her brother, Kane, became aware of the altercation that she had had with CH and was furious. She didn't tell her brother that CH was in the back room, and her brother, Kane, left and he went looking for CH. She actually provided her brother with the address of the group home. And when he came back, he had blood on him, and as he left the blood on the door handle at the front of the house.
She says that he shows up, she sees his hands are bloody, and she sees him in possession of a knife, and she observes there's blood on it.
Was he looking to find CH and thought he killed CH? Or was he just lashing out at somebody? There's a couple of different possibilities here. The investigators show Trinity the images from the security camera from the front of the house where the attack is captured. She actually tells the investigators that her brother Kane has a jacket like that.
Trinity told investigators that she hadn't seen her brother since the day of Ricardo's murder.
She lied to police because she didn't want to get her brother in trouble. She was trying to protect her boyfriend as well.
With Trinity's statement, CH is cleared of any suspicion.
Now the investigation has taken a completely different turn. It looks now like Kane Moore is the #1 suspect. Once he was identified as a suspect, the investigators are going to look at his record.
Kane had a history of violence. He had a history of unprovoked attacks. Kane went to Stony Mountain, which is just outside Winnipeg. It's a federal prison. It's for serious and violent offenders.
While he's in the penitentiary, he's involved in another serious incident. He's a suspect in another stabbing inside in the penitentiary.
Kane was facing charges related to the death of another inmate.
Despite the pending charges, investigators learned that in October 2018, 2 months before Ricardo was stabbed to death, Kane Moore was granted parole and released from prison.
He's a very dangerous person, but he was not designated a dangerous offender by the courts.
He wasn't even supposed to be out on the street. In his parole documents, it stated that he is high risk to reoffend, and somehow he was let out.
When I found out, I was furious. How do you allow someone out who killed someone inside? If you can't protect people in there, how are you supposed to protect them out?
He's very volatile and he's got a very dangerous background, so it's urgent to find him as soon as possible.
Winnipeg detectives are on the hunt for 21-year-old Kane Moore, the prime suspect in the murder of Ricardo Hebe.
At this point of the investigation, the investigators have to find Kane Moore. It is imperative that they find Kane Moore.
Kane's sister Trinity tells the detectives that she has not seen or heard from him since December 17th, the day of the murder. Investigators begin tracking down other family members, hoping for a lead to his whereabouts.
His family are somewhat cooperative. They say that they haven't seen him in quite some time, but it can only be taken at face value because they could quite easily shelter him. The investigators went to all the known hangouts and the areas where Kane Moore has frequented and is known to frequent. They're not getting the best cooperation in these neighborhoods. Nobody wants to be seen speaking to the investigators. Nobody certainly wants to cooperate with them. And they draw a blank. They're not getting anywhere. Kane Moore's parole has been revoked at this point, so the investigators will get a Canada-wide warrant for Kane Moore. They'd circulate a bulletin with his picture and his description to every officer.
After 2 weeks of an intensive search that began just before Christmas, police still have no sightings of Kane.
Nobody knows where he is. It looks like he's gone to ground and nobody can find him. He's on the run.
It was a brutal holiday season for Ricardo's friends and family. They're dealing with this awful tragedy, but they also have no answers. There are very few details at this point about where the main suspect in this murder is.
It took a huge toll on me, physically, mentally. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping from the stress of it.
That just completely shattered everybody. It's unexplainable. My brain was numb. I was trying to, soak in the shock.
Another week goes by with no progress in the manhunt. Then, on January 6th, 2019,
cadets that work with the Winnipeg Police Service came across an individual that was just walking on the street, and they were concerned that he was intoxicated.
They approached the individual who provided them with a false name. However, when they detained him for being intoxicated and they searched his pocket, they found identification in the name of Kane Moore with a photograph that matched him.
Once cadets clue in and realize that they have the main suspect in Ricardo Hebe's murder, they call detectives immediately.
The cadets take Kane into custody and bring him to the station.
Kane Moore was arrested wearing a black winter jacket. The man who appeared in the surveillance video taken of Ricardo Hibi's death was also wearing a black jacket.
But when detectives show Kane the images from Ricardo Hibi's security camera, he insists it's not him.
He doesn't give anything up.
Kane Moore clams up, he denies any involvement in the murder, and he asks for a lawyer.
Kane Moore never admits to attacking Ricardo Hibi, and he never admits to killing him.
But when investigators examine the jacket Kane was wearing when he was arrested, they make a critical discovery.
Police found bloodstains inside that jacket. Investigators test the blood that's found in this black jacket, and the DNA matches Ricardo Hibi's DNA. Kane Moore is arrested for the murder of Ricardo Hibi.
There's a lot of inexplicable killings that occur, but in this case, even though there was no clear motive, there is enough evidence to suggest that Mr. Moore was upset with CH.
Kane Moore wanted to get into the house to find CH, and Ricardo blocked him. He was protecting the kids in his house and doing what he was supposed to do. And Kane Moore wanted to get in there and lashed out the way he always does, violently.
Kane Moore is charged with 1 count of second-degree murder. Ricardo Hibi's loved ones are shocked to find out he was killed by a stranger.
Kane Moore, he's never been around us. We never had him at the house. Like, we had no idea who he was.
The news kind of came out that it was just some random guy. I was angry. We'll ever sit down and have a conversation if this guy asked me for forgiveness. I don't think I could do that.
Kane Moore's trial begins in September 2020. Prosecutors are confident they have the evidence to convict him of murder. They call their star witness, Trinity Moore, the accused killer's sister, to the stand and ask her about what she saw the day Ricardo was murdered.
Trinity Moore gave a sworn statement to police that her brother Kane Moore showed up, that she saw he had bloody hands.
Trinity Moore recants her statement when she's called as a witness. She tells a completely different story. When Trinity Moore changed her story, now there's the possibility of an acquittal.
Kane Moore is on trial for the murder of Ricardo Hibi. Prosecutors expect his sister, Trinity, to testify that he came to her home after the murder, covered with blood, and confessed. But her testimony stuns them.
When she gets up on the stand, she completely contradicts what she had told investigators.
She says that her brother was not involved and never came over.
She said that when she spoke to police, she didn't